Okay, let's let's go over these inequalities again. And so first we're going to just solve each inequality. And remember, we're going to solve inequalities the same way we would solve an equation. So here we're going to subtract 42 from both sides. And x is going to be less than 3. And if I put that on a number line, this is going to be an open dot, shade left. So x is less than 3. Number 2, I'm going to divide both sides by 6. And y is going to be less than or equal to 7. And if I put that on a number line, 2, 4, 6, 8, 7 would be right there. Less than or equal to means I'm going to have a closed dot. And shade left. This line, this equal to right here, is what makes that dot right there closed. On this one, number 3, here's my variable term, here's my constant term. So I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides. Negative 4b is greater than 36. Now I'm going to divide both sides by negative 4. And remember, I told you yesterday, circle this negative sign, circle that inequality sign, because that negative sign means that that inequality sign has got to flip around. If you multiply or divide by a negative, you have to flip the sign. So this becomes b is less than a negative 9. Put this in your calculator so you make sure you don't mess the signs up. Here's my variable term. Here's my constant term. I add 62 to both sides. 7x is greater than 63. Divide both sides by 7. And x is going to be greater than 9. Now, there's no negative here. No negative, so my sign doesn't flip around. Okay? Here I divide both sides by negative 2. Circle that negative. Circle that sign, because it has to flip around. That has to flip around. So a is going to equal a positive 8. If you divide by a negative, when multiplying or dividing, by a negative, flip, flop the sign. Okay? When multiplying or dividing by a negative, you flip-flop the sign. Sorry, I was hitting the table. Okay. In this equation, negative or inequality, negative 8n plus 45 is greater than 101. What is the variable? The variable is n. What is the coefficient? The coefficient is negative 8. What does the inequality sign stand for? That's greater than. What is the first step you would take? Well, in this one, the first thing I'm going to do, here's my variable term, here's my constant term. First thing I'm going to do is subtract 45 from both sides. So here I'm going to subtract 45 from both sides. Because it is the constant term and must be zeroed out. It is the constant term. It must be zeroed out. So if I subtract 45 from both sides, that leaves me a negative 8. N is greater than 56. What is the next step? The next step would be to divide both sides by negative 8. To isolate the variable. And so when we solve for n here, we divide by negative 8. Circle that negative, circle that negative, circle that sign, because that sign has to flip around. So we get n is equal to a negative 7. Solve for n, you've got to flip the sign to get n is less than negative 7. Okay, so you got to make sure you flip that sign around when you multiply or divide by a negative. Okay, on these you're just showing what it looks like on the number line. So B is less than or equal to negative 6. Less than or equal to means it's going to be a closed dot on negative 6. This right here, that equal to tells me it's a closed dot and that 6 is included. And shade left. R is greater than 101. That's an open dot. Shade right. This is D is greater than or equal to 74. So it's a closed dot. Shade right. X is greater than or equal to 0. Closed dot. Shade right. A is less than negative 8. Open dot. Shade left. Okay. I want you to come back up here to the top a minute on number 1. And let's just talk about what this means for a second. This means that B, this means that the solution set for B will be any number less than 6 or equal to 6. So any number less than 6 or equal to 6 could go right there. Right here, this means that the solution set is any number greater than 101. All right. On number 3, the solution set is any number greater than 74 or equal to 74. It can be 74 or any number greater. On this one, the solution set is any number greater than 0 or equal to 0. And on the last one, the solution set is any number less than -8. And -8 would not be included right there because it says less than. Okay, how to solve inequalities. On this page, you are just kind of reading through these notes. These are all just kind of notes for you to read through. And it just shows you what you do to undo the multiplication. Divide both sides by -3. Circle that sign. Circle that sign. Circle that. And notice that had to flip around. Therefore, that would be your number line. Right here on this one, number 1. To solve this, you would have to multiply both sides by -4. So look at here. There's your negative. There's your negative. So that sign has to flip. When you multiply or divide by a negative, you have to flip the sign. Then it shows you the number line there. Subtract 5 from both sides. On this, we're subtracting, so we don't have to flip the sign. On this, we're subtracting. We don't have to flip the sign. Okay? So the only time you flip that sign is if you multiply or divide by a negative. All right, so let's do a few of these together. Solve for y. So we're going to subtract 8 from both sides. And y is going to be greater than a -3. We were subtracting there. We didn't have to flip that side. So y is greater than a -3. So the answer there is B. And so the answer to this would be 53 centimeters. The narrowest street in Venice, the Ramo Viscario, is only 53 centimeters wide. That's kind of thin. Okay, on this one, number 2. Now remember, this was the one that we talked about being our odd man out. We have to do something. We got to do this kind of in reverse order when we're solving this equation. So on this one, we have to multiply both sides by 4 first. So we got to multiply both sides by 4 here. And we get x plus 2 is equal to 36. Now I subtract 2 from both sides, and x equals 34. Or x is greater than or equal to 34. So A here. Venetian church towers have previously acted as lighthouses. I want to go to Italy. I want to go to France, actually. More so than Italy. All right, so the next one. Here's my variable term. Here's my constant term. Subtract 8 from both sides. -6m is less than a -3. Be sure you're putting this in the calculator. Don't let your mashed potato brains mess up those signs. Check all of your computation with the calculator. Now I divide both sides by -6. Now I'm dividing by negative. There's a negative, there's a negative. So that has to be flipped around. So let's go ahead and flip it. So m is a positive 2. No, I'm sorry, positive 1/2. Oops. M is a positive, it's greater than a positive 1/2. Just remember that when you're to flip the sign, you're either going to have the negative on the bottom like this, or on the outside. On the outside, like over here. Right here on this number 1. On the outside or on the bottom. Okay? On the outside or on the bottom. So, and we were, if you put -3 divided by -6 in the calculator, you're going to get a positive 1/2. So M is greater than a positive 1/2. The first public casino opened in 1638. All right. Right here. Here's my variable term. Here's my constant term. So what am I doing here? I'm going to subtract 4/5 from both sides. When I put that in my calculator, I get M equals 5/5, which is 1. And M is less than or equal to, sorry. M is less than or equal to 1. I don't have to flip anything around. So the answer there is 115. Right here, I'm going to add 2 2/3 to both sides. So P is going to be less than. Okay, so I didn't have my calculator, so I had to stop for a minute, and I changed mine to improper fractions so that I could do this. So, but you just put 3 1/3 plus 2 2/3 in your calculator, and you will get 6. P is less than 6, which is 150. Okay, so on the back, I'm going to just do one more, and then I'm going to let you finish this and then get the additional practice from and complete the rest of the practice. There's another practice page that you're going to be completing on this. So I'm going to do number 7. I'm going to let you do number 6. I'm going to do number 7, because the only thing with number 7 is you've got to remember we've got to combine our like terms right here. Okay? So we got to combine like terms. -2x, -3x is going to be a -5x plus 8 is less than or equal to 23. Then we're going to subtract 8 from both sides. -5x is less than or equal to 23 minus is 15. Divide both sides by -5. Look at there. I'm dividing by a negative. That's got to flip around. So that's going to be this. Make sure where's my, there it is. That's going to be that. This becomes this. We flip it around. And then, so x is greater than or equal to a -3, which is B. Okay? So you're going to finish this, and then you're going to get the other practice. Just remember that these are step-by-step notes on what you need to do. This takes you through step-by-step, several examples on working them and then putting them on the number line. Then you've got this little bit of practice that I did most of that with you. I will be taking this up and taking a little daily grade on it. And then you have some other practice to do as well. Be sweet today, and I will see you tomorrow.